Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome. Today is October the 4th. It's a great Monday. Of course, we're still in our new season of WCEG Talk Radio, Issues and Answers. I am Honorable Valencia Stovall, and I am so happy to see you again. We are back, of course, with more episodes to keep you informed. This is our second show for the new season, and our topic today is mental health affects young and old. But you're listening to the new WCEG Network on the WCEGTalkRadio.com, and you can watch us on Smart TV, YouTube, and we're the worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. And the disclaimer is the topics and opinions that are shared on this show with the hosts and guests are not those of WCEG Network. You can also like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. Today's episode, we will touch on, like I said, mental health, which affects the young and the old. Of course, it's a deep conversation and a taboo in many of our Black and Hispanic families. It starts with parents sometimes in the home of our families who sometimes are carrying it from their own childhood. Keeping secrets of family violence, a lot of times don't share what's going on in the home. You better not tell anybody. And they don't realize that there is a problem. And if, when you're gonna hear from someone that we're bringing as our special guest, but, keeping secrets of family violence is not good. And if you have insurance, definitely utilize that insurance. And don't be embarrassed to seek your help. And that was a conversation I had with Dr. LaWanda Falami, a good friend of mine. We were talking about mental health issues. And she also said that you need to heal the wounds that are placed by others before you can be able to help anyone else. So I want to give a special kudos to Christina Ginn, who's the head of schools at Seven Pillars Career Academy Charter School in Forest Park, which they're in, of course, their second year of serving 6th through 8th graders. And then each grade, they will continue to increase up to 12th grade. But she took time to share her own personal experiences through the open call or meeting that she had with parents and students about her battle with mental health, started even in her youth and even into adulthood. And by her being so open, that opened the conversation for many of our young people who reached out to her to share their own stories. So that's why I said it's not just the old people or the older people. Our young people are facing a lot, especially during this pandemic. And every month, I think last month was Suicide Prevention Month, but I think every month we should be having a focus on mental health, especially because of the pandemic. And we need to focus on positive mental health. So let's get into the conversation. I have the honor of welcoming my special guest, Dr. Lee Adams. He is the CEO of the Clayton Center. And the Clayton Center, of course, is located in Clayton County. And I met Dr. Adams when I was a state representative a couple of years ago, when he assumed the leadership reins at the Clayton Center. And I would like to say, welcome, Dr. Adams, to Issues and Answers. And I thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I know it's extremely busy, but I appreciate that, taking time to be able to chat with us on today's show.
Most definitely. How are you today?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here, glad to be seen, and like they said, glad to be heard.
Oh, yes. Definitely. Same here. Yes, so, always a blessing.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your role as the CEO of the Clayton Center, and also tell us about where you all are located.
Okay. My role as CEO here at Clayton Center, I'm the Chief Executive Officer. I'm primarily responsible for all aspects for the agency, serve as a liaison between the board of directors and our agency. I have the primary duties of making sure all the contracts for all our services are administered. We provide services for behavioral health and developmental disability services and substance use, meaning primarily mental health issues, substance use disorders, and people who are born with developmental challenges or delays. We provide services for them. We have pretty much have the responsibility of coming up with the strategic plan goals each year, reviewing our goals and measures and making sure they're all adhered to. Myself personally, one person cannot perform all those duties, and I'm thankful to have a wonderful, robust staff that helped me to carry those out, but I have oversight of all of them, primarily reporting directly to me as our medical director, our chief executive, our chief operating officer, our human resource director. We also have our clinical director who reports directly to me, and I'm assisted by a wonderful young lady, Miss Rhonda Lane, who makes sure that I know what I'm doing from day to day and where I'm supposed to be.
That's definitely important,
Yes.
especially with you wearing so many hats, and also with the need is so much great. It's always been great. I know conversations we've had in the past about the importance that the role that Clayton Center plays for the Clayton community, and we had some bumps in the road with funding, with the state. We were able to kind of try to get that back on track. But could you tell us where primarily does the funding come from Clayton Center? A lot of times people don't know, they know that we have different services, but they don't know if it's, run by the state, if it's run by the county, or if it's private held, or, and all those different facets.
Right. Well, our primary funding source is we do get contracts from the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Disability to perform services. We get a certain amount to do state contracted services, and those services are available for all in the community who meet the criteria. And I know one of your questions talked about, you kind of talked about uninsured or underinsured. So for those persons who really there is based upon your financial position, most qualify for the actual contracted services if your income is right around the poverty level or slightly above it. And it depends on your household size. That's all determined to a point of entry. We can let you know that in about 20 minutes when the financial application is complete. And then we also accept private payers. I know it's easier a lot of time to rattle off all the ones we take, but a lot of times it's easier to know who we don't take. We don't take Ambetter. We do not take like Kaiser or any other HMOs. We don't take Medicare Part B, but for the most part, most of the others we do accept their insurance for coverage. And the other funding we receive come through the wonderful assistance of Clayton County community from our Board of Commissioners. Every year we apply for block grant funding, and we do an extenuous application process, and funding is granted to through the county to assist with a lot of the services to help support. So those are the biggest primary areas. And then of course, we do have a small portion of those who exceed the financial limits for state contracted and maybe don't have insurance or don't have the mental health substance use coverage on their insurance, and they are private pay or self-pay.
Okay. And so I know that you all have several locations in the county, and can you kind of tell us about those locations and what specific does each location do or operate as?
Yes, we have a variety of locations in the county. I'm located at 157 Smith Street. That's our administration building. And here we have all the administrative roles for the agency and oversight of making sure pretty much a lot of the back office type functions are ran. Then for a point of entry for our adults, it's located at 853 Battle Creek Road in Jonesboro. That's right behind the library and right next to DFAX. And at that particular site, that's where all our adults go for their initial point of entry appointment to determine eligibility for services. They do an initial application, they are assessed, and based on the assessment, then it's determined which services they qualify for. At that location at 853 Battle Creek, we have our resident psychiatrist, our medical director on site. We have a med management team equipped with nurse practitioners and other nurses. We have our clinical team where we do our intake and our counseling and group sessions. We also have case management there that's available, case management to assist the ones that are in our program, and also case management for those that may be trying to get the housing choice voucher that's offered through DBHCD. We also have a psychosocial rehabilitation program there. And also we have the peer support, which is a program that's ran by peers who have completed the certified peer program, and they have lived experience in the area, and they're now working intern training and assisting other peers at that location. Our children's location is at 1396 South Lake Plaza Drive, right next to the Cracker Barrel. And it's the same kind of concept. It's pretty much a mirror image of the adult program, but we do it at the children's level. Point of entry, the same process. We provide individual, group. In addition to the mental health, behavioral health programs, we also work out of that location. We do Apex services in the Clayton County schools where we're contracted. We assist 10 schools right now with services, therapeutic services, and also out of the Children, Youth, and Families program, we assist with the CHINS program, which is a court program through juvenile court, where we actually, those young persons that come through, and many times when they're going through and their case is heard, there's a fast panel, a quad CST panel that hears the case. And if it's determined that that child isn't thought to be in need of or could possibly benefit from mental health services, they're referred to our agency, and we have staff who support them. We have substance use program, which is called the Phoenix program, and it's located at 1792 Mount Zion Road, Suite B. And those where individuals go to receive services specific to substance abuse and recovery. Also at that same location in the Suite A is our Paula Crane Life Enrichment Center, which is, I feel like, one of the best kept secrets in Clayton County, where individuals can go and get services. We have addiction support for everything from Gamblers Anonymous, Alcohol Anonymous, food addictions, whatever. There's about 12 different ones. They have a variety of groups and programs, and you can go on their website. It's called thecrane.org, and you can see all the variety of programs that are available on the Crane. And we also have our DD. Our next biggest area is at 217 Stockbridge Road, and that's where we serve and support those who have developmental disabilities and challenges. In the state of Georgia, you must have been diagnosed by the age of 3 to be eligible for that service. So we have quite a few that come in. We have a day program that runs and operates from 9 to 3. And then also we have individuals that live in our residential homes that we have staff and around the clock to manage and provide their care. We have a transportation. We provide transportation for Clayton County. That's also 217 Stockbridge Road for eligible members. We have the Department of Human Service contract. We not only support Clayton Center, but we support those that the VA, the age services that need transportation coordinated, and they can call and schedule trips during that location. And then we provide residential for our substance abuse and mental health individuals, and that's located over on Highway 85 for our programs. I really don't want to give this exact address.
Right. Just understand.
Right. Because we have individuals that live in that location, but we provide services, assist them with daily living skills, pretty much to help them get back on track and become independent and functioning in the community.
Woo! I knew a little something, but I didn't know that the Clayton Center did all of that. And you are definitely, when it comes down to that funding mechanism, You all who are listening, who are residents of Clayton County, you all need to make sure you're talking to your county commissioners and let them know that they need to increase, their budget needs to be increased. Because you just heard all the services that are provided by Clayton Center, from young children all the way up to adults.
Yes.
And even you heard them talk about the veterans, as well as some of the services they're providing. And so, if you know anyone that may need these services and you didn't even know that the Clayton Center existed, but we're here to give you that information. Dr. Adams, I know with the Apex funding, and that's a big deal. I know when I sat on the education committee, I remember us voting in favor of adding those additional funds to the school system to be able to help with mental health awareness for our young people, because a lot of times they're battling behavior disorders in the classrooms and the teachers can't teach. So I'm glad to hear that you all are one of the recipients of being able to provide that Apex. Because a lot of times, when I was elected, we would vote on matters or in the budget, and you really don't never see the end results of it unless you have to talk to someone like you. So
Yes.
When I hear keywords like that, I remember we had a long conversation, about that particular one. And the other question I was going to ask is, the housing choice vouchers. Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned something briefly about that. Are those like the individuals that are a part of your program can qualify for those house choice vouchers? Or how does that work?
Yes, they actually come through Clayton Center. They make an application. In it, they have there are certain diagnoses that DBHDD does support with housing. There are things like mainly pretty much looking for things that they can function on their own in the community with the assistance of case management, and those persons that are eligible, they can receive those housing vouchers that will cover them for a periodic amount of time. They come back in for review and they are reassessed, but they do require that they have a diagnosis in order to be eligible for that program. So they come in to see the doctor, and pretty much at that point, if housing is the issue that they're looking for, there are options out there. And one, I won't say what all the disabilities are, but I can tell you what they aren't. And they're easier. A lot of times things like ADHD don't qualify for housing choice voucher. It has to be something that really falls in that spectrum of pretty much kind of debilitating the person, not be able to do a lot of their life functions on their own.
Okay.
Without support.
Okay, so with that, is there usually a waiting list? Is there kind of like a waiver? I know, like with Georgia Vocational Rehab, with that program, with the Medicaid waiver, for them being able to receive services with employment. Right. I know this was a long waiting list, and I remember that came up before the budget committee as well. So is that kind of similar to that?
Currently, it has kind of slowed in progress of being able, I won't necessarily say a long waiting list, but the turnaround time is a little bit longer. And primarily that came into play because of the pandemic, because a lot of the, in Clayton County, we have certain apartment complexes that will take the voucher. And what we were running into pretty much over this last fiscal year were that a lot of them just did not have any availability because of, the moratorium, people could not be evicted, et cetera. So they just did not have any space. But prior to the pandemic, it was much easier for us to get individuals into those slots. We have begun to see a increase in them kind of being able to finally push some of those people through, but a lot of it has kind of been bottlenecked because of the backlog. So the biggest driver for it is right now has been the availability of those units.
Okay. Yeah, and I always would see the Paula Crane Center when I ride down Mount Zion. Right. And I always used to wonder, what do they do there? And I got a chance a couple of years ago to come and be a speaker. Right. That Miss Johnny Watkins had invited me. Yeah. And so, there's all these resources are very, very essential for our community. especially all that's going on. You know, we already had issues before the pandemic, and now those issues has escalated or exasperated now, especially on the mental health part. When you start talking about parents, then even with the children, and then the whole family dynamics. I know I heard a report that family violence increased during the pandemic because everybody was locked in the same place. Nobody had any space to kind of, get out. So what are some of those signs that you would say of needing help? When should someone say, you know what, I'm really kind of at my wit's end. I probably do need to reach out, because a lot of times in our Black communities, Hispanic, is, considered taboo. There ain't nothing wrong. You just a little crazy. Just go over there, sit down. You'll get better. Go pray about it. You'll get. So what are some of those signs or things that people need to be looking out for?
Right. Well, I'll start by prefacing with this. There's really no easy test to really say, that this might be a specific sign that's geared toward mental illness. It could be something that, that's coming from a physical challenge, et cetera. But some of the bigger key ones that we are looking at is right now, especially with the pandemic, we've seen a lot of people feeling withdrawn, a lot of people experiencing sadness. What we look for is if that kind of thing is going on for longer than about 2 weeks, if a person recently had a grief incident in their family, it may be common for them to be there, but typically, depending on how long the person has been experiencing that challenge, things like somebody trying to harm themselves or, stating that, they have a plan, those are definitely dangerous signs. Or if they're saying they want to harm somebody else, that and have a plan, we call that homicidal. The first one I mentioned, those are suicidal ideations. A person that maybe is severely out of control, doing a lot of risky, risk-taking behavior that maybe that's not in their norm, and it may be causing or possibly causing harm to themselves or others. People experiencing where a lot of people with this anxiety from the pandemic suddenly overwhelmed with fear for no reason, sometimes having anxiety attacks, panic attacks, physical discomfort, difficulty breathing. Other things are things like significant weight loss all of a sudden or weight gain. People feeling like they're hearing things or seeing things, excessive use of alcohol or drugs, also drastic changes in their mood or changes in their personality, or can't sleep, can't concentrate or stay still. Just overall intense worry. A lot of those things kind of to the point, especially when it begins to inhibit their daily functions and them not able to do the things they normally would do in a day. I would think those would probably be some of the danger signs, specifically for adults. For children, however, it's a little bit different. It could be things like changes in their school performance, the same thing, excessive worry, anxiety, having hyperactive activity, all of a sudden having nightmares, frequent nightmares, aggression, child that wasn't normally aggression, but all of a sudden they're aggressive and disobedient, having tantrums. A lot of those things might prompt to say, okay, if it's lasting for a while with no explained reason, you may want to have them assessed.
Okay. Ooh, that was a lot. But and you can see it, and I like that you made the key point of excessive, which means, that it has gone on for, a length of time, a long length of time, because that, sometimes you can just kind of be down a day or whatever, but like you said, if it start being excessive and you see the person not in their regular routine,
right.
They usually come in smiling, but for the past 2 weeks, you've seen they have it, and all kind of, sometimes people start making all kind of different remarks, and you like, what's wrong with them? Mm-hmm. And so, being a little bit more attentive to your surroundings, and even if it's you yourself, making sure that just make a phone call. You never know. So how can someone get in touch with the Clayton Center? Do y'all have a toll-free hotline, or what's the best way for them to reach out to your center to see if the services are needed?
We have, they can go, probably the easiest way so they can check out all the variety of services is to go to our website, which is www.claytoncenter.org. If a person needs to get an appointment, they can contact us. We have a We have our centralized scheduling that where they can call and make appointments. If they call for appointments, it's 1-844-438-2778. Again, 1-844-438-2778. That's centralized scheduling. And we do get quite a volume of calls. We have about 3 staff in that department, and they pipe out. They usually handle, I would say, about 6,000 calls a month. Yes, trying to get appointments. So that is one of the things right now that we have. Is the biggest challenge for us right now is the workforce. Trying to have enough staff to accommodate all the needs of the community.
So if someone is looking for a career with the Clayton Center, can they go to that same website, claytoncenter.org?
Yes, ma'am, they can. And they can also go to Team Georgia and search on Team Georgia and put in Clayton Center in Clayton County, and it'll give all the available listings that we have out there as well. Or they can call us at 770-473-2167 and ask to speak to Ms. Linda Harris. That's our Human Resource Director, and she will be glad to tell them about available careers as well.
Okay, give me that number again.
770-473-2167.
Okay.
And right now, we're looking for, if we have persons out there that are eligible to drive, we do need drivers. You have to qualify. There's a background check, and also must be able to pass the driving motor vehicle records check. We're also looking for support staff to work with our residential. We call those our STs, to work in our homes to support with the client support workers, nurses. I think everybody in the state and probably across the country are looking for nurses, RNs. We'd like to try to keep a plethora of those on site. Preferably if they have psych or mental health experience, that is more of a plus. But if they don't, we definitely will work with those that are willing to learn and to train into the mental health aspect of nursing.
Okay, and so you all heard that, drivers. We can't be having that bad DMV record if you think you'll be driving for the center, and you got to be able to pass the drug test. And so if you having substance abuse, they do have the Paula Crane Center and some other opportunities for you to be able to help you get right. And this is even for, a lot of the companies. When I was elected, we would talk to the businesses, and that's one of the things they talked about, that they had job openings, but people couldn't pass the background, the drug test. Yes. They wouldn't put that stuff down. So if you really want to, do what's best for you and your family, we have the Clayton Center. That's what they're there for, to be able to help you with that substance abuse or alcohol abuse problem that you may have, and any other abuse problem that you have. So you don't have to drive outside the county to get the help. We have the Clayton Center that's right here in the county. And so, Dr. Adams, I know that you also serve on another role as a pastor of a church in Lake City. And I know that kind of plays in, and I know you're a former administrator in education as well. Yes. And so I know you've been able to wear all those hats as one, but tell us where your church is located at.
Okay, my church is located at 5393 North Parkway in Lake City, Georgia. New Day Covenant Ministries. We are not just another church, but we are a ministry. We have been in Clayton County now for the past 15 years, and serve a variety of parishioners from Clayton County. We are a non-denominational church. We welcome and open our doors. We want basically just to help people to experience God in a better way, come in and enjoy corporate worship, and also taking a variety of skill sets that I have gained over the years, and many of my parishioners that serve in the areas, and we utilize those to help develop and further aid and assist in the ministry. I have probably, I would say, about 30% of the parishioners have education backgrounds, teachers, social workers, counselors. Then we have attorneys. We have a variety of members, and we use their gifts to give back into the ministry to help support the less fortunate. We have maybe I'm a little bit prejudiced, but I feel like it's probably one of the greatest churches, if not in Clayton County. I'm sure some of my other colleagues may, but it's a poor frog that won't praise his own pond. But I'm very proud of the membership, the body of Christ, and the work that's being done in the community. We are definitely, we are more from a Pentecostal background move, so you're definitely going to have an experience if you come, to be a part of our services and worship. We just believe in letting God have his way and are doing things to the glory of God and trying to train and assist our memberships how to be productive citizens, not just in Clayton County, but beyond.
Yeah, and that's important as well, having that faith base, especially when you talk about mental health. I mentioned earlier about they would say, well, go pray about it. Well, you have to know what you pray. You have to know that you have to come before a leader that can be able to explain to you everything that's going on in the spiritual part and even in the natural as well. So that's very, very important, especially we hear a lot of it going on in our communities, and just the anxiety level when you turn on the news. Sometimes I have to turn off the news and look at other things because you would just feel like there's no hope left if you're just looking at the news all day. Because it's very rare that they have more bad news than they have good news on there, and that can kind of also trigger you if you're already in a bad mood, and then you're looking at the news. That just kind of adds to your anxiety. Right. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Adams. Was there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we close out?
Yes, ma'am. I want to thank you, Honorable Valencia Stovall, for this opportunity to be a part of your great program. I want to thank you for all of your support. You have been just a great help to Clayton Center, to myself in this community. We are grateful for the legacy and the role that you have put forth in your leadership as a state rep. And I'm glad to see that you have not stopped the work. You're still working and making sure that we're moving forward. I do want to add that Clayton Center, primarily one of the things about us is that we are an outpatient treatment center. So that may mean, unfortunately, for sometimes our accessibility is limited to operating hours. But for those who are experiencing any chronic mental health illness, the state of Georgia does have a Georgia Crisis and Access line that's available 24/7. So it would be remiss if I didn't give that number. That number is 1-800-715-4225. Again, that's the Georgia Crisis Access line. They're available 24/7. 1-800-715-4225. So if you're experiencing somebody, you think that your child or somebody might be in psychosis, maybe they've done something, smoked something, did something, they're acting really strange, they will come to the home and assess as well. Then there's NAMI. You can call NAMI. That's the National Alliance on Mental Health. It's 1-800-950-NAMI, or that's 1-800-950-6264. And probably the most important one of those is National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline's number is 1-800-273-8255. If you feel someone has attempted suicide, don't call those lines. If you think they've already taken something or done something, go ahead and immediately call 911 so we can get them some help and support. And again, we thank you. We're here in the county. We're here to serve. We're here to support. We wish I want to have enough workforce and staff that I could accommodate everybody right away. Unfortunately, sometimes when you come to us, we might have a little bit of a waiting period getting you on the schedule and appointments. We have open access on Tuesdays and Thursdays. You can come in and apply for open access. But again, we are limited, but we do work diligently to provide quality services to our stakeholders in our community. Thank you.
All right. And could you repeat that crisis hotline one more time, the Georgia Crisis Hotline?
The Georgia Crisis is 1-800-715-4225.
Okay. Thank you. Well, you enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And like I said, thank you so much. And I definitely enjoy always working with the center. I know you all joined us at the back to school block party we did in August. Yeah, it was August. I had to remember. And you've always been there to give out good information. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Anytime. Don't hesitate to call on us anytime. All right. Thank you, Representative Stovall. Take care. Thank you.
And so everyone I have now some announcements to make as we get ready to close out. And we really thank Dr. Adams, and there was a lot of information. And remember that this show is being recorded. So we'll continue to share the recording link that you all can be able to go back and stop, play forward, rewind, or whatever you would need to do to make sure that you get that information. And that's the Clayton Center. They have several locations in the county. And each county has their own mental health, but not each county, most counties have their own. Some are combined together. I know at one point it was taught to be able to combine Clayton with another, they call it CSB, but we were able to fight that to tell them, no, Clayton County, we need to keep our own that we have. You could have other counties coming to service here with us, but we want to keep our own. So we just thank you, Dr. Adams, for that and for the Clayton Center. And make sure you all are reaching out when you see that you're having those issues. Make sure you're calling that number and reaching out to get help and support. On this past Saturday, not this past Saturday, on the 25th of September, I was able to attend the Ovarian Cancer Awareness event that was hosted by Clayton County Public Schools Board Chair, Ms. Jessie Goree. It was very informative, and that was information on knowing the warning signs and not to ignore those warning signs if you're not feeling right. I also heard that in that conversation, they had someone there from the Ovarian Cancer Association, and they said that there was no screening that's presently available for ovarian cancer. So a lot of times, like you might have for breast cancer, you might have the mammogram that you could take, that's a screening, but they said that there was no screening right now for ovarian cancer. And I know with my mom, who died from colon cancer about 12 years ago, and I just want to say with that, everything early detection is very important for that. Next, of course, the Clayton County Commission Board runoff is on Tuesday, October the 19th. So make sure you live in Clayton County that you are going out and voting. It's a very low turnout from the special election. It was just embarrassing. Out of 43,992 registered voters, guess how many only came out to vote? 2,357. That's a shame. Clayton County Commission District 1. That's a 5.36% turnout out of 100%. That was very, very low. Now, when you hear, like I said, the last show we had on October the 4th, you heard me talk about all this fight and everything for your right to vote. We're talking about redistricting that's coming up, all these things that you have people fighting for. And then the other people that say they don't need no extra days to go and vote. We really just need that day to just vote on election day, or they don't need time to send in the absentee ballot, or we could shorten the time on the absentee ballot. For what? You don't come out to vote, and the only time you come out, if it's a celebrity or something, somebody keep pushing you to vote, it shouldn't be like that. It should be every time there's an election held in your community, you need to be informed and you need to be able to make sure that you're voting, because this is your leadership. When you complain why you have too many gas stations in a certain area, too many dollar stores in a certain area, we don't have enough workforce. We have to drive outside the county to get something to eat. We have to drive outside the county to have nice places to be able to shop. All of that is leadership. Like my dad says, everything rises and falls on leadership. So the leaders are the ones that you all elected. They were not appointed, elected. And so if it means that a small percentage, like for this one, for Commission District 1, 2 people are in the runoff, And I'm definitely supporting Elena Reeves, who I think will do an outstanding job as Commission District 1 representative. Now, all over Georgia, there are municipal and city races for mayor and city council, and some jurisdictions have school board. We don't have a school board in Clayton County, but that election is November the 2nd. I know y'all been seeing commercials in some areas, depending on where you live, but you need to check your voter status. Today is the last day to register, so you have up until midnight. You can go online and you can register to vote. You know, every time you go and renew your driver's license, they always ask you, do you want to register to vote? So there's no reason why nobody that's eligible to register is not registered, because there's not a such thing as I didn't know. Okay. All right. So you go to mvp.sos.ga.gov. It's mvp.sos.ga.gov. And that's my voter page, Secretary of State. And that's where you can go and check your voter status to make sure that you are registered to vote. So and also it tells you where your polling precinct is at. So that's mvp.sos.ga.gov. Or you can just Google my voter page or Secretary of State voter election. Also, research your candidates. Make sure you ask them questions. They're there presenting themselves to you. They want your vote. So you ask them questions that are pertinent to you, things that are important for you. Early voting for these municipal races are October the 12th through the 29th. And I definitely am supported in Atlanta City Council, Atlanta School Board race. Jason Allen, he's running for seat 9 at large. Casey Venning, seat 7 at large. And for Atlanta City Council, Alfred Chevy Brooks for post seat 1. All of those are citywide. So all my listeners who are in the city of Atlanta, remember Jason Allen, Casey Venning, and Chevy Alfred Brooks when you're going, to make sure that you're putting in some people that are going to make sure that they are accountable to you, and not you have to run them down. You should not run your elected officials down to ask them a question or them giving you information. Also, today kicks off pre-K week. Yay! In Georgia. Pre-K, everybody knows pre-K is the little 3 and 4-year-olds, some mostly 4 and 5-year-olds. And I always enjoy reading to them. So I was invited, honored to be invited again this year. I'll be reading at Little Ones Learning Center in Forest Park on tomorrow, and on Wednesday, the Learning Station in Rex, Georgia. So I get a chance to feel that energy from our little babies. They get so excited. Anytime you just don't feel good or you just need a little boost, all you have to do is go and read to the little kids. I'll be doing the virtual for little ones and in person at Learning Station, but they just pep you up. You could just be feeling bad. Your hair could be messed up. You could just not even have on the right dress or anything. They're just so lovable. So I just love those pre-K students, and I really appreciate those pre-K teachers, because it's a lot to be able to have to deal with those little ones. And you know, those kids come and tell everything that has happened at home and a little bit more. So y'all be careful, parents, of what you're saying around those little bitty kids. Our Georgia Single Parent Coalition next meeting is Saturday, October the 23rd. That's Saturday, October the 23rd. Mark your calendar from 3 to 4. And we have 5 committees that you can serve on. If you want more information, you can email me at contact, CONTACT, at GoStovall.com. Contact at GoStovall.com. And I can send you the link and the information so you can be able to join our Single Parent Coalition. November the 18th through the 19th, I will be a speaker at the Excel in Education National Summit on Education in Orlando, Florida. It's a great honor to be a part of being able to be a speaker, and this organization was started by Governor Jeb Bush. I will be on stage with Tim LaRoche, who's the author of A Fine Line, How Most American Kids Are Kept Out of the Best Public Schools. And I was featured in his book because I wrote legislation for several years calling for open enrollment, which means if you're a parent and you want your child to go to the better school that's not in your district, you should be allowed to do that without being arrested. And yeah, you heard me say arrested. It is against the state law for you to use someone else's address and not your own address without permission from that particular school district to attend. So my bill said that it does not matter. You shouldn't have to have permission from a school district. If you want to drive and take your child to another school district, you should have that right and you should not be penalized. So I'll be on the stage kind of talking about, that particular book. And Kelly Williams Bolar, who's a parent from Akron, Ohio, she was sentenced to 10 days in jail in 2011 after using her father's address so her two daughters could go to a school in a better district. And actually, that is how I came up with doing that legislation on open enrollment, was because I went to a conference and heard her story. And I started wondering, in Georgia, could a parent be arrested? I know some people that use some other addresses. I'm not going to say it was me because I don't know if the statute of limitation is over with. And, I might want to arrest me or press charges. So I'm not going to say anything. But I do know some friends, and I got some friends that did use other people's address for their child to go to a better school. And so we'll also be joined with Darrell Bradford, who is an education advocate and president of 50 CAN, which is an organization that's very strong here in Georgia for parent choice advocacy. So I'm excited to be going in November to sit on that panel as well to be able to share my voice. Now, I decided that to add a little spice, add a little something extra to the show this new season is to come up with what do we call it? Say what? That means one of those things that are happening and you just like, I didn't even know that was going on. So the first thing I want to talk about on the Say What is, did you hear about there was a kidnapping of 5 box turtles last week from Archery Mill Nature Preserve in Johns Creek? And there were some teenagers, y'all. And now there's a $5,000 reward for them to bring those turtles back. And these particular turtles were raised in captivity and unlikely that they would be able to survive in the wild. And so please, y'all young people, return those animals back to that nature preserve. And I got this information from WSB TV and Associated Press. And then I even heard somebody mention that in Georgia, you had to have a license to own a turtle. So I don't know how far that goes, but that's another Say What. Another Say What, Buckhead Cityhood. They are gaining some traction, y'all. This upcoming legislative session, y'all watch. This will cause a big dip in the city of Atlanta general operating budget. Oh yes, a lot of that Buckhead money is gonna be gone. This bill was introduced on the last day of the past session, but it failed to receive the majority to relax the rules. So anytime that you want a bill to be introduced and assigned to a committee without going to the normal process of about 2 days, you can get up before the legislative body and ask for them to relax the rules so your bill could be introduced and assigned to a committee. Well, that the author of the bill failed to get the majority. So that's why the bill is sitting there. But the key part is it's still live. So in legislative session, you have 2 years to get your bill passed. So that was just the first session. In January coming up in 2023, that would be the second part of the session. So that bill could still have a possibility of gaining some traction, gaining some legs and running. And making it to the governor's office for him to sign, to decide to sign. So y'all keep out. But now this is the interesting part on that part about this bill and about the city of Atlanta. Now, Clayton County, as you know, we had issues with our jet fuel tax, and we have been trying to work with the city of Atlanta to be able to work things out with us. So we were on the end of needing mercy. But guess who's on the end of needing mercy now? The city of Atlanta. And guess what? They're going to need Clayton County delegation's support and help in order for them to get that bill stopped. So we'll see, and I'll be keeping my eyes on this big prize to see what's really going to be going on and who will be begging for mercy down at the legislative, down at the Georgia General Assembly. Oh, what a tangle where we weave when we first practiced to the sea. Remember Clayton County was needing some help? And now Atlanta gonna need some help. So a lot of announcements on to the next Say What. A lot of announcements have been made for the upcoming elections on next year. So my question to all the Democrats out there, who is going to be, what are y'all going to do about the governor? We haven't heard any announcements. The state superintendent, that's the person that's over the education for the state of Georgia. How about the agriculture commissioner? I haven't heard any announcements, anybody saying they're running. So we'll be sitting back. I'll be watching to see if we have any announcements. And you know, the Republicans are in full swing getting ready for next year. So they've already made their announcements. The people are already out campaigning. Even they have people running against the governor for the state of Georgia. So they're out, they're working. Where are the Democrats? And also, you know, in Washington, D.C., another say what? Yes, you have the moderate versus the progressive in D.C., and they're trying to decide what they're gonna do with that infrastructure bill. And so now, remember one thing, you all, it doesn't matter what party is in charge. There's always gonna be disagreements in the party. And when you have one party always believing that they're superior over the other party, you watch out because it's going to come back around. Remember when the Republicans were in charge last year with the president and all that, and they had dissension into them. Everybody, oh, the Republicans did. Oh, now look who's waiting now. We all waiting to see if the Democrats are going to come together. But we'll see. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to work it out. But somebody's going to have to give up something. There's going to have to be a compromise. The next say what? Redistricting will be taking place in the November legislative special session. So all the legislators will be getting together in this November and next month, actually, to talk about how they want to redraw the lines. So for you all who may not know, the census every 10 years after the census, it is by law that all the congressional districts and statewide districts have to be redrawn to make sure they have fair representation in population and also when it comes down to race. So these lines will be redrawn. You'll be hearing a lot about redrawing. And even the lieutenant governor has already released a draft map from that particular Senate committee. So you all can Google Lieutenant Governor, Georgia draft legislative redistricting map, and you can kind of look at it and see how the congressional districts are going to be redrawn. Remember, you now have in Congress, and this is what's called mid-year elections. Next year, going to be mid-year elections. And when they say mid-year, it means it's the midterm of the presidential election. But remember, every 2 years, the state, the Congress, the House of Representatives are elected every 2 years. On the state level, the House and the Senate. On the national federal level, the Senate is only every 6 years. But remember, there was a special election last year, which I was a part of, made history, even though I didn't make to the finish line. But that particular seat that's currently being held for the U.S. Senate has to be revoted again come next year for the full term of the 6 years. So there's a big shakeup that can happen depending on how these maps are redrawn in Georgia. You can no longer have the majority in the Senate, and you can also lose the majority in the House in Washington, D.C. So you all keep an eye on what's going on. It goes back to we talked about voting and also educating yourself on the candidates. All right, we're almost down to the wire with this say what. And so the next say what, well, this might not be a say what, but I say it's a say what. One of the things that I'm participating in is called Life on Fire Challenge. It's a coaching 7-day challenge. And to find out more about it, go to lifeonfirechallenge.com to join. So I want y'all to be on the watch for what you will see next. So things I have to do to make sure I'm getting unstuck. And so I'm just excited about being able to bring to you all another good episode on WCEG Network. And also one of the challenges today was to talk about that moment, that your moment on fire. So mine was the passage of HB 614, which is the Landon Johnson Act, which allowed video cameras to be located in special needs classrooms that were self-contained. And because that was essential and great for me, and a turning point for me was because that was my first piece of legislation that I had passed. I didn't have any prior training on what to do to get bills passed in the state capitol. And so that was a big turning point, but getting a chance to work with some fantastic people to help get that passed, and even being able to convince 236 people, or the majority of the 236 people, to agree with that bill was just awesome. So that was my moment on fire. I'm excited about that. And of course, it was definitely God's favor to allow my first bill to be passed. My second bill was passed that I authored was in 2018, that designated March the 21st for Single Parents Day in the state of Georgia. And so we're excited about that, and time has caught us as always, but we will be back for our next show on October the 18th at 4 p.m. Our guests for the next show will be someone representing our Clayton County library system. You know, when we think about the library, sometimes we just think about going in and reading. But I tell you, the libraries these days, especially in Clayton County, have a lot of outstanding opportunities and all kind of services that they have that you wouldn't even know that they had. I mean, they help, you know, from if you have a business, they even help from if you needing tutoring for your child, they have programs for that. Oh, they just have a lot of things that's just available. So we'll have her coming in and talking about what those services are. And also the mayoral candidate for Forest Park Mayor, Tommy Smith, will be our guest as well. So set your calendars for October the 18th at 4 p.m. on WCEG Talk Radio. And there were some little issues going on with Facebook, but you know, we have to keep on with the show. So we would definitely be posting this video once those issues with Facebook get straightened out. But thank you again for joining us. And we look forward to seeing and talking to you all again next week. If you have some show ideas that you would like to add in, or some say what that you want to add in, definitely contact me, contact@Stovall.com to reach out to me to let me know what you want to add or what you want to hear on future shows. Thank you. You all have a good afternoon, and stay dry. I know it's been raining today and it's supposed to rain the rest of this week.